We decided to do a quick little packing video of what we took to the Camino and maybe I guess overall for these past almost 6 months.
Yeah, I think we had a request to talk about, how do we pack for long-term travel like this, and how did we decide what to bring with us and stuff like that. How are we managing for 6 months on the road with just a bag and our backpack, right? So, in reality, this was 2 different trips, right? I mean, that we had to pack for. So we had to pack for our long-term trip, and then we also had to pack for just the Camino, because we knew that we weren't going to take everything with us. We were just going to have a few the smaller, the less, the better on the Camino, right? Because you got to carry everything with you. So I think in your case, your backpack, you had what, 12 pounds?
12 to 15, I'm not exactly sure. We weighed it before we left, and then I think shoes changed, and maybe like the part of having shampoos and all that kind of stuff. I tried to kind of rework that also.
Yeah. So I think you got a nice pack from REI. It was a 40 liter or 35 liter pack. I can't remember. But it's really nice fitting pack, really meant for this kind of hiking. I used my old REI pack, not designed for long-term hiking. And I think mine was probably about 12 pounds, maybe 14 with water.
Yeah.
So we each had a container for water. But really, so there's back to the story. I mean, there's 2 different trips that we had to pack for. And so even though some of my stuff kind of overlapped, I think probably yours was pretty.
It did.
Yeah. Okay.
No, absolutely. So, and maybe we start with the Camino and then expand on.
Yeah. So talk about your Camino, what you packed for.
So I know everybody made fun of I wore the same thing every day, and the funny thing is I did. So I started out with 2 tank tops, which I think I wore each of them one time because when we got to Spain, it was cooler than we expected.
It was a lot colder than
we expected,
yeah.
I had 2 t-shirts or 2, short sleeve shirts, and then 2 long sleeve shirts. I had 1 pair of leggings and then some waterproof pants, hiking pants, and a waterproof jacket. Or as we got into this, we decided that they were probably all water resistant because we felt really wet at the end of our rainy days. But that's kind of all I had was 2 of each of those things. I did take a skirt because I thought that it would be warm enough and I could dress up at night or just have something different than my shorts and shirts and stuff like that. And it was too chilly in the evenings to ever wear. I think I wore it maybe once. And that's it. And then, you take a couple of sports bras and underwear and my toiletries, which was toothpaste and some shampoo, or I brought bars of shampoo and conditioner, just for less weight. Makeup, nobody wears makeup. So I've gotten out of the habit of doing that. I put a little bit of mascara and a little bit of eye makeup on, but that's it. You put your hair up in a pony every day and you just go. And I had a hiking hat, which really came in more handy for the rain than it did the sun. And I had like one of those little washcloths that if you need to go to the bathroom, it's instead of leaving toilet paper out on the trail, that's the clean thing you're supposed to do. So I had that. But that's pretty much it. Socks, underwear, sports bras, and those clothes, and that's it. And we pretty much wash every day when you get back. At least your socks, because I had liners, and then the wool socks to walk in. That, and then you wash your t-shirt at least. As every other day, probably sports bras. I think I brought 2, maybe 3. But you're so limited, and unfortunately we decided that we could do it, and so we carried them probably 3 weeks out of the 5 that we did it.
Yeah.
And then we got smart and decided they were too heavy, and so we shipped mine with everything we could possibly fit in there, and then just had a day pack for snacks and water and maybe a rain jacket in case it rained. And that's it.
Yeah, that worked out a whole lot better because we both carrying all of that weight and just miserable at the end of the day. And then when we started shipping your pack 3 weeks in, we first decided we were going to do any leg that was 25 kilometers or longer, we were going to ship it, or 20 kilometers or longer, we were going to ship it. And anything less than that, we would just carry it. And at the end of the day, it's so much worth shipping it. And what I mean by shipping it, so they have this service on the Camino that basically for €6 per bag, they'll take it to your next destination. And you just, every day you would fill in this little piece of paper and
have it downstairs by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, have it downstairs. And I think it was Yaco Trans was the name of the company. It was kind of a interesting company, and it seemed to change names throughout the Camino, which was really interesting. But yeah, they would give you a little form, and at the end of the day, you just fill it out. You have it down there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Never had a problem. We got to our destination, and there was our bag. So that was really, really convenient. It allowed us just to carry our water, our raincoats, and any snacks, or if we needed our rain pants or whatever. So that made it a lot easier. So for my bag, I basically pared everything down, and I only had 2 pair of shorts, but they were the kind of shorts that are convertible. So I could have long pants or shorts, and most of the time they were shorts, because it was when you're hiking, even though it was cold, I didn't really need long pants. So I had a sleeping bag liner, which I think we used one time.
We used once.
Yeah.
And a towel we used once.
And a towel that we used, a dry fit towel, or whatever they call it, a dry towel. I think I used that once. So those 2 things I could have omitted. And then here's my rain pants, which are conveniently put in this, boiled down to this little bitty sack, which was great. But they're basically plastic pants that keep you somewhat dry. I had 2 long sleeve shirts, the bay leaf shirts that you see here. Those are dry fit shirts. They're great. I ordered them on Amazon before we left. I made sure that they were going to work before we even left on this journey. And those work great because they're very light and they dry pretty quick. And then I had 2 or 3 dry fit t-shirts, just normal short sleeve t-shirts here. And then I had 2 long sleeve pullovers. In reality, I probably only needed 1 long sleeve pullover, but I was prepared for it to be cold and, have layers and that kind of thing. So I did alternate between those 2. Also in my small pack here, I had 4 pair of socks, 3 wool socks, and then just 1 regular pair of cotton socks. The wool socks wore out pretty quick, and so I had to buy 2 new pair of socks on the trail in one of the cities. They had like camping stores all along the way, so it was great, but they were expensive. I think I had 4 or 5 pair of underwear. These were all dry fit. A couple of these are officio underwear, which if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. They're really good underwear. They perform very well, and they claim you don't have to wash them for 4 or 5 days. Well, I sweat so much, I washed them every day, or every time I wore them, because that's just nasty. I'm sorry. So anyway, and that was pretty much all of my clothes. I did have my rain jacket, and I did have a toiletry kit with, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, any little minor toiletries that I need. And that was it. And that's all we took on the Camino. And that's, we rotated it, these clothes in and out every day. When you weren't wearing it, you were probably washing and drying it. So that's the way you do the Camino. So is there anything that you wouldn't have brought with you that you did, that
I didn't need the 2 tank tops, which I thought I did, but it wasn't cold enough.
At the end of the day, yeah, it wasn't warm enough really to wear them, right? So it was too cold.
I wish I had another pair of leggings, or just walking pants, not the rainproof ones. Other than that, I think I was good with everything else I had, with the amount of socks and sports bras and all that kind of stuff. And my shoes were comfortable and my feet never hurt, but I got a million blisters, and thankfully I didn't have any pain. And so you just figure out how to keep them from getting worse. And my shoes made it, and then of course they ended in the trash the last day that we did this.
Let's talk about your shoes. So you had the Hoka. I don't know what brand they are, or
I can't remember which ones they were either.
What model number they are, but
Trail Runners,
Trail
which are
Runner,
supposed to be the
Hokas.
best. Yeah.
And how'd they perform? I mean, do you feel like they gave you good performance?
They were water resistant. The rainy days we had, my feet were wet. Any days that we just stepped through puddles or it drizzled, they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get into it, and after you get blisters, you don't want to change shoes because then you're scared that the new shoes will create even more blisters than what we already had. And since I wasn't in any pain with what I had, so they have a brand of Band-Aid that's called the Compeed, which are amazing. They're kind of puffy. They just adhere to your skin and blend in, and so you can wear them for
allows the blister
3
to
to
heal.
5 days, and so you don't feel a thing with those on there. And they're not cheap, but they work. You can't buy an off-brand; you have to get that one.
That's true. The Compete was really helpful. So your shoes at the end of the day, I mean, they weren't cheap, right? They were $70, $80, something like that.
At least, yeah. So
okay, my shoes. I went to REI and tried a bunch of different shoes on. At the end of the day, I went with the Ultras. I forgot the model number, but I really liked the way they felt on my feet. However, the insoles only lasted, and I did wear them before we went to the Camino, so that was the only pair of tennis shoes I brought. But the insoles did not last once we started walking 12, 15 miles a day. The insoles wore out, especially where the ball of my foot hits. I mean, just completely wore a hole in that. So I ended up having to buy new insoles probably, about a week and a half, 2 weeks into the Camino. And even those were really good, but they didn't last. At the end of the Camino, you can see they're pretty worn out. The heel of my shoes, and I've always had this problem with my shoes for some reason, the heel just wears out and blows apart. And I used some bandages that you had bought, and they were just really tough Band-Aids, and I just put them on the back, and it just seemed to help. It helped the shoe make it through to the end. But at the end, the heel was blown out. The insoles were blown out and just worn out, and so we pretty much chunked our shoes in the garbage at the end.
it was a good day.
It was a good day, getting rid of those things. And the Ultras,
They smelled because of the rain and the.
Yeah, I mean, that's another story altogether about the Camino. We'll get into that in another video, but yeah, that's not mud you're walking through, by the way. Anyway. That was the only other thing I would add, that we were carrying on their packs, our water bottles, and then what else? We had an umbrella, a convertible small umbrella. Was there anything else? We did not take our laptops or our iPad on the Camino, just from a weight perspective, it didn't make sense.
Phone charger.
Yeah, we had a phone charger and our phones, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so, that's the way we managed. We'll talk about more about our long-term packing stuff in another video, but that's pretty much our Camino packing video.
So now you know we wore the same thing pretty much every day.
That's why. Cheers.